Welcome to ECNTRADE Daily Video. Before we begin, it should be noted that any advice is of a general nature only and that your personal circumstances have not been taken into consideration. Hello everyone, my name is Rob Clayton and thank you for joining me. Well, from the New York close, the Australian dollar has closed relatively flat around 71 cents. The market at present though is still looking towards that top side of the range, which I feel is around 71.20 to around 71.55. Was a little bit hesitant over the last few days and may again see this kind of price action be repeated. Still, if we do get to that region, we may see some profit taking emerge and therefore see a retreat, with the support now holding somewhere around 70.5 to around 70 cents. Looking at the euro, the market is still teasing at that top side around 107.40. We did see a brief high around that level in last few days and still is being contained. There is a bit of divergence when we look at the RSI, so we could see still a little bit of an uncertainty when it comes to challenging around that region, anywhere from 107.40 to 107.85. In US data overnight, in a revised GDP, the Commerce Department said that the US economy shrank at an annual rate of around 1.5% in the first 3 months of this year, more than it was prior estimate, or around a forecast of 1.4. It is the first slump since the second quarter of 2020, when the economy was in the throes of the pandemic recession. Still, there was a good 6.9% growth in the last 3 months of 2021, so the market's a little bit mixed on those numbers. The dollar index is still holding around that 102 area, so is therefore seen that the euro will most likely struggle if it does clear the 107.40 with the 107.85 as a potential cap. Moving on to dollar yen, well, the market is still holding around this 127 level. It's quite surprising in how well it's actually holding, considering the technicals are quite heavy. Nevertheless, the support is around minor at 126.90 and may actually see a little bit more of a down test. But as we get closer towards that 126, 125 area, we may see some profit taking, as the market is potentially still expecting to see a rebound later in the broader sense to around 130. So this pullback could be shallow. Nevertheless, we're still challenging this 127, and let's see how we finish up for the week. Sterling still holding relatively firm as the market slowly treks higher and now closer to its objective of 126, figure 40. We did see a high of close to that, around 126.14 this morning. I like the way this pattern's still shaping up. There's no divergence, as we can see here, and there's clearly enough room to get towards 126.40 or even towards 126.85 to 127.45. Keep an eye on this trend, as it is relatively supporting the current climb and therefore could eventually achieve its topside target. A little bit whipsawed again overnight for sterling Kiwi, as we're getting 2 long-legged dojis in a row. And also the fact is the market is attempting to recover since rebounding from the lows, seen somewhere around 192.5. Nevertheless, the market may actually find a little bit of a struggle as it gets towards 1.95 that is, and therefore may actually see a retreat eventually back towards the bottom side around 192.5 and 191 beneath. Gold a little bit weaker, but didn't take out the level of 1,838. And in fact, the market closed slightly to close to a dragonfly doji, but a weak one. In light of the pattern, we're still pretty much vulnerable to see a challenge to the downside, as the technicals are still for the RSI holding around that midway point. But if we see a break through this level, we'd see further risk to the downside. Now a break of 1,838 would see a move to 1,810.12 as initial target. Wrapping up with oil, the market once again was relatively strong and now pushing back to the top side of the range, seen somewhere around 113 to 114 a barrel. In light of the pattern here, the market's still uncertain when it comes to this top side of the broader range and doesn't seem to or appear to sustain, and we do get a sharp sell-off. So from the top side, as long as we don't clear 114.5, then I feel the market can actually potentially pull back to 106. Well, that wraps it for the morning. Thank you very much for joining me, but please keep an eye out for the intraday report and also the wrap up for the week.